We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Now the fight I want to make is Shakur Stevenson and Vasily Lomachenko. Bring me Shakur versus Loma. Bob says he wants it. I'm gonna break it down in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Not sure how you found my video, but please throw a like on the video. It's free, it's quick, simple, takes a couple seconds, and we got some action. So appreciate everybody for the phenomenal support in the lighter weight divisions, mostly lightweight. It's been a lot of action because it's back to back, like Drake said, back to back fights from Tio Cambosos to Devin Haney and Joseph Jojo Diaz Jr. to Tank Davis, Isai Cruz. You know, it's been some action, but another fighter in or around those divisions, champion at 130, coming off a great performance against Jamel Herring, is Shakur Stevenson. Speaking of lightweights, Lomachenko's fighting this weekend, and link in the description, exclusive. Bob Arum eyes, so it says he's eyeing Shakur Stevenson versus Vasily Lomachenko, and this is basically an interview. Arum's preference is to first match WBO title holder Stevenson with former pound for pound king Vasily Lomachenko, assuming Loma defeats Richard Comey again this weekend. As for Valdez, who holds the belt, Arum would like to have him square off with Mexican countryman Emmanuel Navarrete. Then perhaps if Stevenson and Valdez are victorious, he would match them against each other in a fight that he had previously said he was anxious to make, but he had a change of heart, right? He says, Lomachenko, let me highlight it for you. Lomachenko Shakur, that's the fight I want to make. I think that's a great fight, whether it's 135 pounds or at 130 or even at a catch weight. I don't need it for a title. He said he plans to talk to Lomachenko's manager, Egis Klimas, about the fight after Richard Comey in that bout, and he would also speak with Jay Prince, who manages Stevenson. Another direct quote. Loma Shakur is a major pay-per-view fight. I don't know about that, but I like the fight. Valdez Navarrete is a great Hispanic attraction on ESPN. Mark that down in your notebook because we're going to come back to that. Who put on Crawford, Porter, blah, blah, blah. Says Stevenson said Arum is just parroting what Team Valdez has told him. Stevenson does not believe that Valdez, who like Stevenson is also a former WBO featherweight, is interested in facing him, at least not yet, especially after struggling to a disputed unanimous decision over Robinson Conceição. Told you. I thought Robinson Conceição beat Valdez as well. Quote, Bob is repeating what Valdez's team said to him. Valdez Navarrete sounded like a great idea after watching Navarrete fight and retain his title against Joanne Gonzalez, and he don't want to just get rid of Valdez just yet. So while Stevenson's preference is to fight Valdez, he is open to facing Lomachenko, but only if it is at 130 pounds for his title. Although Lomachenko has been fighting at 135 since 2018, he has also maintained that for a significant fight, he would be willing to return to the junior lightweight division. So now, as I'm reading deeper, I want to give you guys my live reaction. We're getting deeper into it, and it's sounding less appealing to me, and I'm gonna explain why. If I'm fighting Lomachenko, he's coming to fight for my belt, so it would be at 130 pounds. Like I said, I'll fight anybody, but you got to realize once I beat Lomachenko, they're going to water down my victory. Once I beat Lomachenko, what are they going to say? Oh, well, he lost to Teofimo already. He's not the same fighter. They're going to water down my victory. Valdez is undefeated, a fighter in his prime. That's the fight that I've been talking about for so long. I think Top Rank is allowing Valdez to make his way out of it. So we got some different complexities. He says, I'd be okay with Lomachenko, or I'd be okay with Valdez. I'd be okay with Navarrete. I don't dodge it sounds like he's trying to say I don't duck or dodge anyone. I'm okay with every fight they present to me as long as the money is right. We'll sit down and talk, and we will see what the plan is. So link in the description, pretty lengthy in terms of all the quotes, but we had to get you guys right and really talk about it. Now, Shakur Stevenson, he looked phenomenal against Jamel Herring. He did his thing. He also had a bundle of joy. So, you know, he's now a father. Congratulations to him on that. And he's disciplined. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll know he says that his mind is right, and he just feels like he's in a great space in his career and mentally. So it's always great. This is what people expected before Shakur even turned pro. They expected him to, look, he talking that talk. They expected him to just really demonstrate his skills and be one of the most skilled fighters. And, you know, he's on his way to doing that. This is my issue. This is my issue that I have with the whole how Top Rank is allowing Shakur is putting him in a position where, like, and there's been a lot of talks of this about the NBF no black fighter list and things like that within the Top Rank organization, and they're real organized and they have these boards, and that's what you're seeing. Shakur is saying that if he fights Lomachenko, they're going to water down his victory and say, oh, he had already lost against Teofimo Lopez. And I agree. But furthermore, Shakur is saying, I'm a champion at 130. So basically he's saying he's not moving up to 135. He says, if I fight Lomachenko got to come back down. So as I said earlier in this video, I like the Shakur and Lomachenko fight, but just as Shakur himself mentioned, he says he thinks people will find a way to try to water it down. If Lomachenko comes down to his division where he's a champion, and that is what he believes makes sense, then people can easily say, oh, but Lomachenko, you know, he had lost in addition to losing to Teofimo Lopez, now they'll be able to say Lomachenko hadn't fought at 130 in quite some time. And he fought a couple people like Nicholas Walters, I believe. Also the fight with Rocky Martinez, but he only has 17 fights, and he's fighting Comey this weekend, Nakatani, Teofimo, Luke Campbell, Anthony Corolla. These fights were all at lightweight. Jorge Linares, that fight was at lightweight. So he hasn't fought at that division since 2017. 2017 against Guillermo El Chicao Rigondeaux. So we're about to enter 2022. I'm not the smartest brother in the world, but I know it's December 2021. Next month, we'll be into the new year, 2022. So right there, first of all, we have to see how Lomachenko looks this weekend versus Richard Comey, because this is kind of a last stand for Richard Comey, in my opinion, in terms of the big fights and being in big fights. So he's going to have to try to put on a showing. Richard Comey does have cracks. So, you know, we've seen upsets in boxing. Lomachenko is going to have to fight smart. And just because Teofimo got Comey out of there, that's Teofimo. Teofimo had a lot of momentum at that particular space of time. And in addition to that, Teofimo is, in my opinion, a bigger puncher at lightweight than Lomachenko. So we'll see. Lomachenko, if he beats him, it'll be based on his skill set and style, not necessarily like one punch knockout power. Like Teofimo really sparked Richard Comey with a singular shot and his legs was done. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know that Lomachenko can do that with a single shot. So back to what I was saying with Shakur, we're entering 2022 and Lomachenko ain't fought in that weight class of 130-ish since 2017, so 4 or 5 years ago. So I really don't know if that's the case. I thought Shakur, because Shakur said when George Kambosos won, and I think even when Isaac Cruz had a good showing, if I'm not mistaken, Shakur on his social media, he kind of displayed an interest in those fights. I even seen someone say, oh, Devin Haney and Shakur is a good fight. And he said that would be a great fight, high display of skill. So I was under the impression, and I'm doing all this live, I was under the impression that more so Shakur was interested in entertaining the 135-pound division. But based on this article and what it's saying, He said, if I fight Lomachenko, it has to be for my belt in my division. It says, quote, if I'm fighting Lomachenko, he's coming to fight for my belt, so it would be at 130. So Bob Arum's talking about a catch weight or either division, but it looks like Shakur is a champion, so he says it makes the most sense in my division. So that's something Top Rank would have to figure out. If it's at 130, again, an easy, if Shakur says they're going to water down my victory, the fact that Lomachenko, again, we have to see how he looks this weekend, but if he does get past Comey, he hasn't fought since the Rigondeaux fight in New York in 2017. So you know it's going to be hard for Shakur to get credit. And just like the other top or former top ranked fighter, Terrence Crawford, another black fighter, you're seeing the same pattern. You're seeing the same pattern of maybe possibly getting some bigger names, but not getting the bigger names with Top Rank at the specific time that would be undeniable. And that's the conundrum that, in my opinion, black fighters signed with Top Rank and some of the other promoters outside of PBC have constantly faced. Like Errol Spence, since we're talking about Crawford, Errol Spence fought Sean Porter in 2019. Sean Porter wasn't thinking about retiring and a podcaster. When he fought Crawford, this was his last fight. He knew in the background, he knew it was his last fight. The world didn't know it. So that kind of, you know, changes the tempo. Sean Porter was, you know, he was willing to try. He's a warrior, but I can't trust a guy when the going gets tough to want it more and dig down deeper versus like somebody who's on the verge of hanging him up, as opposed to somebody who's like, this is all I got. I'm a fight for a couple more years. It's just, we're just different levels. Boxing is too grueling. So this is the conundrum. Shakur is calling out Oscar Valdez. Top Rank's trying to make, Bob Arum just told you, he said a Hispanic fight, a fight that he believes is big. And I think the black dollar is constantly undermined in the world of boxing. And they're allowing Valdez off of a bad performance and a failed DRUG test to escape out the back and fight a guy moving up who's not even in the weight class, who went the distance with the guy that Shakur Stevenson already beat. Shakur been calling him out. So to me, more so than even Lomachenko, I think the Valdez is the necessary fight. See, this is the problem for what I've seen black fighters with Top Rank, is getting the fight. Like for Lomachenko had an opportunity to fight the undefeated Teofimo. Teofimo had the opportunity to fight a once beaten Lomachenko who was on a string and moved up in weights and beat the Rigondeaux and Nicholas Walters, Gary Russell, and hadn't lost since his second pro fight in Salido. So you see how fights like that, you go to boxing Twitter, everybody's happy for fights like that because they're happening when no one can deny both fighters are on a win streak and it's closer. It's as close as you can have for prime to prime. You know what I mean? But with Shakur Stevenson, he could fight Oscar Valdez right now, and it's a good fight and it's a great stylistic fight, and he's been calling for it since the previous division. But Top Rank wants to make a fight and cater to the Hispanic or Latino population, so they would rather have a guy move up in weight to meet Valdez, which really isn't that big of a fight. Maybe it's some good action, but I think Shakur Valdez right now, head to head, would do better numbers. Shakur has done solid numbers, like in the upper echelon of what Top Rank does on ESPN, and him versus Valdez would be better. We already seen Valdez versus Miguel Berchelt, you know, so we've already seen that kind of stylistic matchup, guy who throws punches and stuff like that. I want to see Valdez against a sharpshooter and a technical guy like Shakur Stevenson, and he's been calling for this. But again, doesn't look like that'll be next. They're talking about Lomachenko, and like I said earlier in this video, Lomachenko is still a good name. We still have to see how he looks versus Comey. What if he gets dropped or something? Comey got power. And even if he beats Comey, this is a guy Teofimo already beat. So beating Lomachenko, if he has to move back down to a weight he hasn't made in 4 or 5 years, it's just setting Shakur Stevenson up for people to water down their fight. And I don't see how fans and people can't understand what was being said. You have to look at it. Like, for example, just look at other matchups. Jermell Charlo, he fought Brian Castaño immediately after he became a champion for the first time. Not like after he lost. I thought he beat Lara, but not after that fight. He fought him after he went to a rival promoter's card and upset the promoter's fighter and became a champion. So the timing is impeccable. Jermell Charlo, it was a draw, but if he would have got a clean victory and they announced him as the winner, then there's nothing anyone can say. So even in the rematch, Jermell Charlo and Castaño, it's a great fight. Full credit to the winner, because you're getting them both guys at a great space, you know what I mean? But if Shakur Stevenson fights Miguel Berchel, like all these other names that Top Rank are trying to do, like Shakur Stevenson is saying, it opens the floodgate for it to be watered down. And I just think Shakur is deserving, based on his performance with Jamel Herring, he's deserving for a big fight. You know, why don't Miguel Berchel and Navarrete fight and then establish a winner, and then Shakur Oscar Valdez fight, and then maybe the winners meet, or the winners of one of those two fights fight Lomachenko? That makes the most sense to me. But it's Bob's business. He's going to do whatever he wants with it. And in the meantime, Shakur will just have to fight who he can fight, if he even gets one of these names that is being mentioned. Because like I said, I've been in this sport long enough, and it would be foolish of me to just hear what's being said and accept it as, oh, this is next. So boxing is a crazy sport. Lomachenko, we have to see how he looks this weekend. There's no guarantee there. And there's no guarantee that we get Lomachenko versus Shakur Stevenson. The two have sparred in the past. Sounds good. Shakur on his social media, he says he's down, but seeing is believing. You know, look, he put the devil evil emoji regarding it. He said, let's do it, you know, so he's about it. Let's do it. What else? Best fighting the best. I'm all for it. Shakur prefers Oscar Valdez. He said, all BS aside, me and Loma can really scrap. Next, if I can't get Valdez big fight, I'm all in for it. So he's stating his game. You know, he said, me, Gervonta, Devin, and Keyshawn got the best skills, if you ask me. You know, so at the end of the day, Shakur, I know he's about it. He wants the big fights. We'll see what his team can get, because I'm not sold that the Lomachenko fight actually does happen, despite what Bob Arum is saying. And, you know, boxing is a fickle sport, so we'll see. A lot of things have to unfold, but hopefully Shakur gets that big fight that he wants in 2022. Let me know how I did in this video. Subscribe to my channel, and I'm out. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation.